6:02. We shall call the meeting to order, starting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We are already in February, the shortest month, which is exciting. We will start with the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? Second? Second, we need a second. Okay, thank you. And then discussion.
I have one, I don't know that Jenna was here.
Yeah, that was mine too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jenna was not, so
Okay.
remove from present and also, I guess, remove her from
Anything else?
going into,
Okay.
executive session.
I think, Karen, you probably flew in a couple
Yeah,
minutes,
she
didn't
was-
you? Yeah, I
yeah.
handed her my notes and missed that, yep.
Yeah.
All right, I will take her off.
Any other discussion?
One other thing, under superintendent's report, it says Dr. Kathleen Hosterman.
Oh,
Oh,
poor,
I must have used the other.
God bless Karen. Karen does minutes for 4 out of 5 of our schools. That'd be a Brookfield thing. Very good catch, thank you.
Thank you. I will change that.
Thank you. It's all about finding the right template.
It is.
Okay. Any other edits, discussion on the minutes? Okay, so we will approve the minutes. All in favor? Great, okay, as amended. Thank you. Okay. All right, make sure I'm going off the right agenda. Next up is the financial report.
Okay,
Mrs.
yeah, I gave Steve a pass tonight. A lot going on. It doesn't look very different than the last, couple of months. It just doesn't look any better. So, for the most recent, you can see the current report, which does have us getting down pretty low. What is not fully encumbered, and I will make sure by next month, the latest and greatest projection on special ed is, I think that's gonna be probably $50,000 more than what is even showing now. It just keeps getting worse there. So knowing that there's still a lot left to deal with for the rest of this year, we're not even out of the heating season. So the oil will certainly go till soon, probably this weekend. I mean, what we can get through this weekend with the oil we have. So we'll get through, but I think only with, under my report, I'm gonna ask your support to submit an article to the town. We've talked a couple of times. We could get to the end of the year and find ourselves in better places. We're still, it's hard to get a handle. You have got a good amount of leaves, of long-term leaves, some shorter, some for the rest of the year. And in some cases, that relieves some money. In some cases, it costs double to cover the sub and the person on leave. So there may be a little bit of positive movement in there, but I think I'm gonna, once we get there, I will recommend that we do at least submit the article. I think the deadline is March 1st. I feel like we should get it in, and we can keep talking about it in March and April and May, and have a better handle by town meeting time. Say that again?
Public hearing.
Yeah, so that, and which is, if no one has any more questions on the current year, then we do need to
I have
move.
one question.
Yep.
Just under contracted services, OTPT, that's a $28,000 swing. So from last month, we were at 24,000 positive in terms of the budget balance.
Yeah.
And now we're down to negative 4,000.
Right.
Were there changes or?
The 28,000 was probably a couple of months worth of billing.
Okay.
That is another one of, I have to stop calling us dysfunctional because we actually make it very functional.
We do.
The way we work with our 6 districts has a lot of, we do the work here and then we bill it to various different places. So sometimes it takes folks a while to do the billing. We pay these folks from the revolving fund and then someone in my office has to bill all of the districts. So sometimes that billing is a bit behind. So I'm sure now a combination of, they've gotten caught up with the billing, and as they're getting caught up, they probably found that the services are anticipated to be a little bit more, given the students that we currently have getting the services. Anything else? okay? Then what we do have the obligation to do tonight is to just vote a bottom line budget to bring to March, the dollar amount, to the March public hearing. So we have had no more questions, no changes, nothing else pop up to the good or the bad, and as I knew, no state money, which by now, we usually have our budget by now. So with nothing, no new information. If you'll remember last month, we talked about the budget, we went page by page, line by line. The only thing we moved was one line that was gonna be decreased by 53,000. So what I gave you is the last page that's been updated with just that error that we adjusted on maintenance. This is where we are now, and again, it is too early to know if we have problems or if we're gonna get the state funds to back this up. But what I'm suggesting, at least right now, is that you vote to move a budget of $13,574,465 forward to the March public hearing. And then we'll go through it all again.
Okay. So I will make the motion to put forward to the March budget hearing the following total budget for FY '24, $13,574,465. Is there a second? Second. Okay. Thank you. We don't have the, most of us don't have the detail of this. Is there any discussion on this? All good, no last meetings? All right, hearing none, then all in favor? Yes, thank you.
And then just the confirmation before we get off of budget and finance, what we have traditionally done is have your public hearing on the same night as your regular school committee meeting. So if you're all good with it, we would be posting it for March 2nd. I think what we have done pretty consistently is start our regular meeting at 6 o'clock and recess at 6:30. Whatever we take care of before that, go into the cafeteria and run through it there and then come back and have our final discussion. So if that's good, you don't need to formally take a vote, but unanimous consent, that's what we will post. And we notify the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee of the date and the time, and we send them your summary documents so they can
Yep.
choose to come or not.
Oh, yeah.
They usually,
Yeah.
now Larry was here in January,
Right.
so he has the most detail of the crew.
Yeah.
But it's Sturbridge better than any of the other towns. We do typically get a couple of selectmen, or at least one, and a handful of finance committee. In fact, sometimes the finance committee have their regular meeting and want to go up and meet after. So
Right.
when we send the document out and the notice of the posting, we'll see where they're at. But I would be shocked if we didn't have some of them here. And then our job, Steve and I and Kathy, are to anticipate their questions. So we'll be trying to do that over the next month.
Probably starting with the overall increase.
Exactly. Well, I'm hoping Larry is helping spread that word, but I do suspect we'll have to probably repeat a number of the conversations we had last night. And that's okay, that's okay. All right, then that's what we'll post.
Okay. Moving on to communications.
I just put in here for your information, because again, when your finance folks are looking at the total cost of education, it's very clear they look at the elementary budget plus the secondary budget. We know that the charter tuitions have started filtering in a little bit, that's not here. This is your age, your elementary age students that leave to another school district, which also could be the Massachusetts virtual, it's not even Tech anymore, I think it's Greenfield and called Mass Virtual. So it shows your trend. A couple of years ago, there was a big, but again, there was your COVID year that, there was far more online virtual, even though we offered some. So it's going down, it's great, and I see the dollar amounts on the side there are the things that will come into play when I'm talking to finance folks and saying, here's what we asked for schools in general last year, here's what we're asking for next year, and oh, by the way, your out of districts are going down, and that's usually part of what they need to fund. So it's a good down. There are very few that leave. I will get Kathy a little more information. The majority of those that leave usually are going at the elementary level. they're often going where their parents work. Whether they work in a different school district or they work in a different town, and it's more convenient for them to go. A couple of these are probably the virtual, but I do have the details of where they're going, and I can give you a better feel next month. So that's just FYI.
And this does not capture homeschoolers.
It does not,
Okay.
it does not.
Where
Right.
are we with those numbers?
I don't, do you know what they are recently?
I'm not gonna.
I will have that next month as an FYI.
Yeah.
So the homeschooling, we do have an obligation to oversee the homeschool packets applications. We in our office, Jody looks at the curriculum to make sure they meet mass curriculum. Other than that, and we do ask for evidence a couple of times a year. They don't cost us per se. We don't pay a tuition at all, obviously, for homeschooling. What we don't get is state funding. So when we look at our state funding that's based on enrollment, those are students that are just not included in our enrollment. So we're more not getting money than it's costing.
Okay.
Okay?
So this is like 1%. This right here is about 1% of overall, and I think that this one is like 3%.
Any other questions on that communication or discussion? Thank you for sharing that. The principal's report.
Hi, folks. So enrollment continues to grow steadily, and I will check the sixth grade numbers for you tomorrow. Curriculum instruction and assessment access testing for our English language learners is complete. Middle of the year STAR assessments in English language arts and math is ongoing. I think the window closes February 10th. And the dates for the MCAS, just for everybody's knowledge, ELA April 4th and April 5th. Math, May 9th and 10th. Keep in mind those are for grades 3 through 6. And science, technology, and engineering will take place for grade 5 on May 16th and 17th. Our last professional development day was on Friday, January 13th, and it featured a wide variety of menu options. I just want to take a minute to call out our PTO for their constant support of Burgess. They're working hard. Jogathon is starting to take shape. There's a number of cultural arts activities that they're looking to sponsor and to help assist with field trip busing. So just a thank you to them. Kindergarten registration is ongoing, although this is sort of the end of our official week of registration. We're at around 82, which is about the typical place we are year to year. You'll see all of our wonderful updates from all of our grade levels and departments. And followed by our list of important dates. Coming up, we have a jazz band concert for our beginning band. It's actually a beginning band and jazz band concert tomorrow night.
Questions? Yes. Did I hear you say something about PTO helping with sourcing busing for?
They always do. They always do. That's one of their primary functions is that they, some of their fundraising money goes to allocate for the buses for every grade level for field trips.
So paying out like to McCarthy or something?
No.
No, not necessarily outsourcing, but even the
we
cost
still
of
have to, we
Sturbridge,
still have to pay Sturbridge.
because you don't have in your
Yeah.
budget the
Right.
transportation
Mhm.
cost of
It's
any field trips.
over and
Usually
above.
that,
Correct.
if they're
Yeah.
going someplace, they have to pay an
Oh,
entrance
okay.
fee plus
Mhm.
transportation. If PTO helps with
And
the
I-
transportation cost, that's great, and
Yeah, I
it
didn't-
decreases what.
I
And the
wasn't
teachers
aware
are
of that.
working hard on organizing field trips, as you know that's been a worry that we've had.
Yeah.
Transportation still continues to be, I'm gonna use the word barrier, for lack of a better word, so just be aware. The team leaders and the grade levels are working hard to come up with creative ideas to try to get the children out for educational experiences outside of the school.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or? Okay. Thank you. The superintendent's report.
Okay, so first and foremost, as I already mentioned, I am looking for support. You have a draft of the article that I would be submitting. I wrote down, I believe it was, oh boy, I think it was 2012 was the last time, when I literally took this off of one that we produced
Yeah.
about 10 years ago, since we had to put one in. The other thing we did a different one, but that we were trying to get massive, we were trying to get, devices. If you'll remember, I think about 5 or 6 years ago, we put in for a large sum of money to get enough devices to put a cart in every classroom, but we did pull that too by the end of the year, because we either got grants or we had money in the budget.
We also had a special education concern.
Yeah, but it's
And we pulled it back,
it's
yeah.
been longer away than you think. I think that was 10 years ago. Yeah, I think it was soon
15.
after you came. So, this is the same language, it's pretty standard language, and again, as I've said, we can pull it back. We certainly couldn't increase, but if it turned out we got closer and we think we can get through for less, I would bring that to them. So I'm just asking for a vote of support or the okay to send this to the town administrator and at least get that, in their book of articles.
And this number will certainly cover what you know of.
We think as we went through where we are now, what more we think it will cost in utilities, utilities, transportation. We think we've encumbered based on your current model and your current tuitions. We know we've covered tuition with a number of other sources, and hopefully covers all the leaves for the rest of the year. If we get another huge unexpected one, then, but we feel pretty comfortable that that should be the most.
This is sufficient.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just take a vote of support to, submit this to the town for the request of an additional $200,000 to cover our 2023 shortages. All in favor?
Okay, then just other brief updates. I'm looking at when we met last. We've had another PD day since we met last. That went pretty well, had similar sessions as it did in October, so I think it had a good feel. I think folks liked the conference style, having choices, and the only thing, the most significant difference between January and October was the weather. That was not near as cooperative and beautiful, but we got through. I think it was a good day. We are not going to talk about the weather-related blips in the last 2 weeks. We're gonna move on.
You don't wanna talk about that?
No.
Enjoy hearing your voice.
Those
inside.
weatherless days home
That's
that
what
we're like.
you know, again, I feel, we say this, I won't say every year, because I think for a number of years, we felt better about the fall forecast, but I know there were years where everybody, the standing joke was, I wanna be a weather person that can just throw a dart out, say something, and then
No accountability.
continue to be employed, but, we went on what we had, and I failed twice, in my opinion, I think, my gut was, but that's
But
okay.
we still get credit for that early release. and
Exactly,
I don't know
it's
how
one
that
in the
was-
books.
How that
And
was
again,
received by
exactly.
parents, but I mean, I appreciated that.
Well, I know parents, and that's the struggle. We're certainly cognizant of how disruptive it is to get a 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning phone call that your kids are gonna be dismissed. We get that.
Yeah.
But it's that balance of, do I worry so much about that I totally, in this particular case, took away half a day of education for our kids, so I feel a little bad, because we didn't need to, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It felt that way the night before, and we were trying to be aware of that and help the parents, and that's what it is. All right. And then, just the little updates. I don't have an executive session there. We haven't had a lot of movement to update on the bus negotiation. That does continue. And we will start negotiating with your teachers on March 27th. And I'll need to have a little chat to make sure that date works with the two people that will be negotiating.
Seems to me it's fine.
Great. Okay, then we'll get rolling then. That's it.
All right, great, thank you. We are up to public access. Please, gentlemen, are they? No? All quiet on the front, okay. Moving on to subcommittee reports. Haven't, do we? Other than me, which is Tantasco representative, moving into that agenda item. There was a meeting, in mid-January, the 17th. It was a fairly short one. I'm just looking through my notes. We talked about, just a couple of things going on in the school community. the ski club is very successful. They've got 150 junior high kids and 200 high school kids
Oh, wow.
going to Wachusett every Saturday, mine included, and I have nothing but great things I've heard. Very well organized, lots of, interaction with the chaperones and teachers so that they're not just throwing them out on the mountain alone, but they're having a great time. So, not sure how this Saturday
Yeah,
is gonna go.
It's another one, I'm like,
-30.
I wish the mountain would just say no.
Right.
But again, remember, they don't get there until Saturday later afternoon, and things are supposed to be on the upswing a little bit compared to the worst is Friday night, Saturday morning.
Yeah.
It's, they'll be in contact with the mountain
Yeah, okay.
tomorrow to see it.
Keep our ears open.
Yeah, we've had some pretty cold days, and I know they hate canceling, because I don't think they get vouchers if they cancel, which, we don't really have the ability to tack it on to the end as a whole group, because you're getting into February vacation. And, but it is the largest junior high group, that they've ever had, and
Yeah, they're having a great time.
I'd be
so.
more worried they get your own start.
I think all parents appreciate the offering, especially those with only one kid that goes. Their whole Saturday's free. Kid free. The other thing that they announced is that the spring musical will be The Little Mermaid, so be sure to go and check that out. It should be good. I think they've got auditions are going on this week.
This week for the big kids.
I think so.
Because I will say, here, that there's also gonna be little kids this time. I love
Little
the show
fish.
that we have some little, so I don't know what their audition schedule is, but I'm pretty sure that we'll be back to, I love every few years having those that we can pull in the elementary
Yeah,
kids, so
great.
I'm pretty sure that is the plan.
Nice. Good to check out. And the other thing, this is a subject that came up at the previous meeting, and just to update you on the Mediterranean coast trip that was proposed. We voted to table that discussion, not for lack of people trying, but, they came back to us with still not a solid funding option for kids to make it approachable and, for all those from different economic brackets. So that was one of our concerns that persisted. And also still, it's very expensive, and that issue with the chaperones, the more kids that went, like all the chaperones would go for free, they still weren't switching that model enough. I know, and Sam would love to go. She has no child in high school, but just offering for free chaperoning. I'll keep your name handy if we ever untable it, but, so no one's going to the Mediterranean coast anytime soon, but doesn't mean that won't come up again if they, get some better options and ideas generated around that. One other note that I'll just mention for all of our benefit is that, the school committee members retreat is scheduled at March 25th.
Yes.
So mark your calendars. I think, what are we targeting, like a morning?
Yeah, and I mean, in the past, we've had some in the fall, and we've made them full-day events and had a nice lunch, which is great when we have a hearty agenda, but even then, it's tough for some folks. They come in the morning and then there's things going on.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, we're doing it one way or another. We've got March 25th, but we've been looking at an agenda that will be either 8 or 9 until like noon. So, we'll do morning snacks or continental breakfast, but folks, we get Saturdays are a challenge. We just want them to be good and productive. It's a great opportunity when you get all 34 members together twice a year to do your formal calendar and your, the eval, and but this is an opportunity to talk about other things and talk about the mission and vision of the district. So we're looking at having some student groups, the high school and the junior high, present, which is great. There's just nothing better than hearing from the kids, and then going through a few exercises on our core values and our mission and vision.
And that will be local.
Yeah, I think it'll be the junior high. Yeah.
Okay, great. That wraps up my report. Next up is unfinished business.
Which you have none, because we gave you a gift for a couple of months of no policies,
Yeah,
but.
that's true. Right around the corner, we have the new business, which is a stack of policies.
So I will go through most of them or a good handful of them actually came from MASC as suggested updates around non-discrimination language. There's a couple that, again, as you can imagine, it is quite a jigsaw puzzle to try and start with the Tantascwa subcommittee and then push them all out to all the elementaries and keep track of them all. So there's a couple I think that we missed. So I'll go through these, and do you want me to go through one full swoop and explain them all and then come back and decide how you wanna vote, or?
I think usually we make the motion to approve upon first reading, and then discussion is your.
Yeah, I think usually either way, no, I think I need to explain first, and then
Okay.
you can decide
All right.
if you want, how you wanna vote, if you wanna vote.
All right.
So JI, I think, was mistakenly not in your packet at all. And then on the agenda, it had said amendment. It was an amendment at the Tantascwa end, but it was never put on your book originally. So this is the, request to put it on for the first time. And the dates down the bottom would be incorrect, because I think those are Tantascwa's dates. And to adopt, again, this is MASC's recommended basic standard student rights and responsibilities to add to your book. So it would be new.
Okay.
And this is the exact language that MASC suggests we have. I think I'm looking, then also, JICA, you do have in your handbook, basic dress codes for students, yes?
Yes.
MASC still suggests you have a basic policy that directs to the handbook. So folks sometimes will go looking for a policy before any place else. This policy gives you general philosophy, but cross-references go to the student handbook to get the detail. So that's what their recommendation is that we have, okay? Then, as you can tell, I think we've done a pretty decent job of showing it wasn't that you needed to see the now and then see that you can see it all in one. It is really about adding the updated non-discrimination clause with the updated list and updating cross-references. And again, this comes all from MASC's legal department. Okay? That is the case also for GBA, your equal opportunity, just striking whatever we had originally and putting the latest and greatest with the correct legal references. Okay? The same thing with GCF. Any questions or NJB? Now, JFBB1, you do typically vote not to be school choice, but you've got a policy anyway that says if ever this is how it rolls. Every year you have to decide by May 1st if you're going to be a school choice school. So the policy is here for us to follow. You usually follow it just to the point where you say, no, we're not going to accept school choice. But the rest of the other things talk about if you did decide to be, how it would flow. And that's already in place. And again, as you can see down the bottom, it's just an update on the discrimination, non-discrimination. Nope, I just found, okay, so was it out of order?
Yeah.
So ignore, that is the incorrect JI,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So get rid of that.
And then JLCDD, we just never rescinded. Back when you folks have, well, we have two things that we wanna keep. Where are my notes here? You have a very, very detailed allergy and life-threatening policy. We're just looking to rescind the smaller, not specific, I know what you have in your packet says Tantascwa, but you do have one on your books that looks exactly like that and says Sturbridge. And we just wanna rescind that, get that off, and we're gonna live off of, I think it's JLCDD-1, that is your very detailed one.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so let's start by, I will make the motion to approve upon first reading JICA, to amend upon first reading AC, GBA, GCF, JB, and
rescind upon first reading JLCDD.
So I just have a question first.
Can we
So
get a
as
second
far-
on the motion? Thank you. Okay, discussion, yes.
So as far as the dress code, I know it says refer to the handbook, but that's been a sticking point forever. So rather than just refer to that, is there some point we would look at the handbook?
So we are. So there is a committee right now, actually going through every aspect of our handbook, as well as the new coordinator position that has been, recommended, and we're starting to interview for at the central office. That will be one of their responsibilities, is to look at all of the elementary school handbooks, come up with a core part A and a part B. But, Mary Jager has been working, I think, almost for 2 months now. Does that sound about right? Gathering a committee here at Burgess, and they have been working closely on that.
Okay. So would we still vote on referring to that? or
Right,
should we wait
because
till
it-
next meeting?
because that will be the
Until we
future.
come up with something else, that's
Right.
what we have,
Mhm.
but we
Okay.
definitely have efforts across the district. I think last spring, we actually did update one in college, so that's probably an example that they're working on, but they definitely need to be looked at every now and then and updated, and if higher changes, and
So for the same dress code policy, I'm just questioning if we should have sort of like more of a statement in it that there's more detailed information to be found in the student handbook. I'm just thinking that, you know, if my child was sent home or there was some contact about there was a dress code violation, this doesn't say very much and doesn't directly, I mean, if you look at the cross-referencing, it says the student handbook has some information, but
You want a statement?
I think it would be clearer
I
if there
think
was.
the only issue with that is that we're trying to keep things in only one place, and to stay more high level and general in a policy and rely on a handbook that's probably reviewed more regularly and updated makes it cleaner. And also, as a parent, I'm surprised that people go to a policy over a like a handbook seems more accessible and friendly and on the website.
I think most do go to
than
the
a-
handbook, but
Okay.
for the few that do, and again, you know, from a legal perspective, I think most districts have this very small. Generic,
Yeah.
so again, yeah, I mean, the cross-reference does, I think most people are gonna call and say, what are we talking about? But if you just feel like you wanna point blank somehow in the body, say,
I don't think I want to
specifics,
list.
no, I understand what you're
Specifics,
saying.
just saying
You
like,
want a sentence that says,
Please refer to
the specific, please refer to student handbook, or
Or
the
specific
specifics will be
guidelines or
found.
specific
Guidelines will be,
restrictions.
okay.
I think that's right.
No, because I actually missed that cross-reference,
Yeah,
and
me
I
too.
Okay.
did go look at the student handbook and saw more details, but it wasn't clear that that's what I should have done.
Okay, got it.
Dress code is a very difficult
It
topic.
is.
It's like surprisingly,
Well, it's.
You have lots of layers.
It's, unfortunately, no matter how hard we try to define, we still get to very subjective. It's very interesting.
Maybe just put some pictures or something. What we mean.
No.
A little line here.
And maybe-
Not this.
This, but not, okay. That sounds like a great plan.
Oh, boy.
All right, so I'll add one sentence. So maybe the amendment, just to add at the end of second paragraph, specific guidelines will be posted in the student handbook. Perfect. Okay, that's what we'll add. So then the motion would be with the one amendment. Everything Kristen said with JICA as amended. Yep.
And then I had just one other comment or point of discussion for JD, which was equal educational opportunities. I'm wondering if proficiency in English language should also be added to that list. I know it was listed in, I think it was on the school choice, yeah, it was on the school choice policy, but it seemed like maybe it was also relevant to the equal
I don't know which
educational
one that is.
opportunities.
Just right here.
Tell me exactly where you're at.
So on JV,
Yeah.
equal educational opportunities, where they kind of go through the whole list of.
This is the latest legal list.
Okay.
So I really wouldn't want to tweak that.
Okay, but So that legal list is different for the school choice language. So if you go to JFBB 1, number 6 does list proficiency in the English language. Is there a reason that one's different?
You know, I could see that there could be, quite frankly, from an employment point of view, there could be some jobs that you absolutely need complete proficiency in English language. From a school choice point of view, we can't pick and choose what students we would take in, because it's our job to get them to proficiency. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but isn't it the equal educational opportunities referencing students, not employees?
I'm talking
Am I misunderstanding?
Okay.
But is it not us to decide if they're going to a school
Um,
or a language, or what proficiency, I don't think I keep talking.
yeah, I'm happy to check, I'm happy to check with our attorney,
Because I don't.
And again, maybe the
There
error
has to be
happened
a
on
reason.
MASC's end, but they're literally pushing them down and so I will check that. Okay. Yep.
Are there questions or discussion? This is just the first reading, so we can
Mhm.
have adopted at
Right.
this point, and we can have another opportunity to look at.
Yep.
Anything else?
Okay. Ducks in a row here, but okay, so all in favor of approving upon first reading JI as amended, JICA, amended upon first reading AC, GBA, GCF, JB, JFBB1, and rescinding JLCDD. Revisit these next meeting again. Okay,
That's all I have, folks.
that's all we have on the agenda. We are up to making a motion to adjourn. So moved. All in favor?
Okay. We will not have as early a night next month, I promise you, but that's okay. Have a good night. Stay warm.